I'm going on there.
Get hooked? Hit it!
General! Which ones are you sons of...
Ow, that hurt.
Don't touch it!
Don't. Ow, ow.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available.
We're gonna dust for Prince next time.
All agents.
You might be dead broke, but American households on average are richer than ever. The Federal Reserve says the net worth of U.S. households shot up by more than $2 trillion in the fourth quarter of last year to a total of just under $99 trillion, thanks mostly to higher stock and real estate prices. The gains far outpaced a sharp 5.2% increase in household debt, the biggest annualized gain in 11 years. However, the increase in consumer credit slowed in January. And now to income distribution. Median wealth, the point where half of households are richer and half poorer, is 34% below its pre-recession level. The Fed's headline average is skewed higher by the rich who got richer. Are violent video games causing an increase in mass shootings? President Trump is suggesting there is a link, but researchers like sociology professor Whitney DeCamp at Western Michigan University says no.
For every shooter who is playing a violent video game, there are hundreds of thousands or millions of kids out there who are playing these games who aren't doing that.
The industry is transparent about this content. Video games have rating systems. Researchers say about 90% of young boys have played a violent video game by the time they reach high school.
I don't think that it's fair to say that there's no rationale for keeping your kids from playing violent video games. But if you think that it's going to result in them engaging in violence and actually hurting other people, the research just doesn't say.
Yeah, I talked to him.
NBC's Liz McLaughlin reporting. In the wake of last year's big Equifax hack, Congress is considering a bill that would allow consumers to freeze their credit for free. That would clear out the patchwork of rules nationwide with.
All right, 1 minute.
I'm sending you
offering free
Todd Masson's
charging for it. And
number, Dave. He's at
fees.
1105.
The Interest Research Group is citing two big problems with the bill. Credit agencies could still charge to temporarily unfreeze your credit if you want to apply for a loan, and unfreezing would not require any PIN codes or passwords, so identity thieves could do the unfreezing. Consumer and business news, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test because prediabetes can be reversed.
All right, showtime.
And it's Pre-Diabetes Awareness Partners.
Crack open this 40.
Pull a little out for your homies.
Dunc and Holder on a Friday, March 9th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here with you in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave DeCorbier back in iHeart Central. If you want to get involved in the show, 504-260-1280 is the number. One guest today, we're going to make him a regular because if you're an outdoorsman and all you have to do is go outside and see how gorgeous the day is, you want to get out, get on the water. We're going to talk with our man Todd Masson, outdoors guru here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Check out his YouTube channel, Marshman Masson. Did a great job last week. And you know what? We're going to have him on every week. People want to know where the fish are. Even though he's not going to give that away totally, he's going to give you some tips and some great insight. So you figure Friday, it's Sportsman's Paradise Friday segment here on Dunc and Holder.
You would pick Friday for that, knowing that it's also Country Fried Friday as well.
They do relate.
They do relate
people
a little
don't
bit.
fish in urban areas? What's that supposed to mean?
I would say that I'm more surprised by when I see, brothers and sisters on like horses during Mardi Gras. That stuff is always cool to me. It's always awesome.
We're off to a roaring start here.
I told you, man. I told you Friday was going to be much better.
I'm saying
shenanigans.
You saying brothers don't ride horses?
No, I'm saying I love it because it's just so. It's like for me, like because I mean, I obviously didn't grow up in a rural area. You know, one person.
What do you mean you didn't grow up in a rural area?
Sorry, I hate to tell you, but like the city that I'm from,
Morgan City?
that you don't need a pirogue and a airboat to get to. Like it's a little bit more paved than you would imagine. Kendall Beckwith, though. Like, we did a story on him, former LSU linebacker. He actually trains horses.
Yes, he's into it.
From Clinton, Louisiana. Like, he actually has a horse farm. His family's done it for years. It was so cool because it's like, man, that's awesome.
Guess what? Todd Masson's never coming on the show on Fridays anymore because I don't know where this conversation just went.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're talking about brothers on horseback.
I actually have a legitimate question for Todd today because, I mean, obviously, the biggest thing, and I'll tease it, whatever, but obviously with the opening of the Bonnet-Carré Spillway, like, I don't know if you, like,
big time.
He'll know all
thinks about that and, just getting his ideas on that and what it does to the ecological system of the lake.
If you guys looked out the window and seen the river, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's way up.
It's awesome.
You can see it from up here at our great studios on the 31st floor, but the river is at almost nearing flood stage, I believe.
Hence why the Bonnet-Carré Spillway is being opened, and absolutely that affects wildlife and all of these things, so perfect timing for our man Todd Masson. But obviously tons to talk about. Poor LSU, poor Tulane, poor UNL, all of our March Madness hopes and dreams, with them at least, are dashed, at least for this week. Curious to see if LSU gets into the NIT. And even Will Wade's, I love how honest Will Wade is. He comes out and says, we better get a home NIT game because we sure as hell can't win on the road. I love that blunt honesty from Will Wade. But still some Louisiana teams left in conference tournaments. We'll touch on all of those. Of course, two big-time stories, which is why it's the headline of our post on Dunc and Holder on NOLA.com. Pelicans going for 11 in a row, and the Saints looking and visiting with a former Jets Pro Bowler. Jeff, it's Country Fried Friday. I'm going to let you take your pick. Which you want to start off with, because we've got plenty of info on either
Well, let's
subject.
start with the Pels, because it sounds like they released this morning, I believe it was, that AD is doubtful for the game. And here I was saying he's definitely going to play. I haven't been right much on the Pels lately.
No, you haven't.
So my panic is warranted?
So Larry's panic, for once,
is warranted.
Just. Although, I'm still kind of surprised that he's not going to play. It must be a really bad sprained ankle, obviously, to keep him out, because we know he's played through all kinds of injuries throughout his career.
And he sat out for many injuries in his career. But it's one thing to, okay, you're the Pelicans, you'd like to keep this win streak going, and yet you do know that he's the franchise. If he's playing hurt and not 100%, and he keeps working through this ankle, it's going to hinder the team. It's going to hinder him in the future. Now, we all know the standings. The standings are as tight as they can get, from 3 to 10, and yet you still need to back off on a guy if he's not ready to go. And so I'm curious to see how Anthony Davis feels going into the game tonight, if they sit him. Do I think they could still knock off the Wizards? I think they can. Look, they're without John Wall. Even Clyde, have they been up and down? I feel like you were saying that leaning on Bradley Beal, leaning on some other guys.
Yeah. Specifically coming into this weekend, they've lost 3 of their last 4, and they needed overtime. Excuse me. They needed overtime at home to beat the Heat, and the Heat almost had a game-winning shot from Dwayne Wade in that game, and they were able to eventually pull it out because they were fouled and got to the free throw line. But that's what I think going into this game. Specifically, the Pelicans feel like they're playing with house money, to coin the phrase, because they are playing at home. Hopefully, it will be a big crowd. I know we talked about yesterday. Jeff, said that there were around 1,500 tickets available for this week for Friday's game, and like 1,200 for Sunday's game.
Yeah, it was 1,700 for Sunday's game, 1,500 for tonight's game. But that was as of 24 hours ago.
But yeah, so you would imagine that the Pelicans feel like there's no need to push him for 2 games, specifically at home, and a 3-game homestand, at least today against the Wizards, which they should be able to match up with pretty well, because again, Bradley Beal, fantastic player, great scorer, but for him to try to lead the team by himself without a John Wall, it's a tough prospect. So not only have they lost 3 of their last 4, including having to play Golden State, Toronto, and Indiana, but their only 2 wins are over the 76ers and the Heat. Like I said, before that, they lost to the Charlotte Hornets. So you feel like this is a game that the Pelicans can probably go with a condensed lineup, with maybe Mirotic getting the start, probably, instead of coming off the bench, and then obviously the way he played coming off the bench in Anthony Davis' steed this past week was pretty successful.
Yeah, you certainly have to assume Mirotic would start. If Anthony Davis doesn't play, he's the obvious candidate. And it would be on his back, on Drew Holiday's back. It would be probably on Etuan Moore's back. You're going to want him to be a sharpshooter from three-point range. Darius Miller, I'd say the same thing. You would need a collaborative effort if Anthony Davis doesn't play tonight, if he doesn't play a couple games going forward. And the problem here is if Anthony Davis misses a week and a half, I'm just throwing it out there. I have no idea. We're just speculating. But if he misses a week and a half, that's a significant amount of time where we are in the season. And right now, the Pelicans, 4th seed, they're a half game behind Portland. They are a game and a half above the Spurs and the T-Wolves and the Thunder. But that just goes to show you, a game and a half above 3 teams. So if you lose 2 and any of those teams pick up 2 wins on you, you're way down the depth chart, and all of a sudden you're teetering on playoff disaster.
We're going to find out just how valuable Anthony Davis is. It might make a strong argument for his MVP credentials if the Pels cannot beat the Wizards or the Jazz without him, because they've been blitzing through everybody, as we've said, and all of a sudden they're without their alpha male.
And guys, do you feel like, I mean, I know when we talk about the arcs of a season and how it kind of ebbs and flows, am I the only one that feels like this was somehow going to happen at some point to really cement like the whole Pelicans second half? How are they going to handle expectation now?
You're not the only one. I just assumed some shoe was going to drop at some point.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm never calm except when it comes to Drew Brees' contract. I'm calm with that.
Yeah, you're calm with that, clearly.
People are panicked already on Twitter again, right before the show. People are wondering about that. But no, I'm one extreme to the next with the Pelicans. I'm expecting a shoe to drop, and unfortunately, Anthony Davis's shoe didn't support his ankle, and so that dropped.
Well, I mean, it wasn't so much a shoe as much as like coming down on another player who fell on the ground, which is always unfortunate because, and of course, the level of sprains are different. Like if it's a high ankle sprain, low ankle sprain, the severity of it changes with how you rehab it and how long it takes for that soreness to get out. And I mean, obviously, he's going to get great care. He's going to get much better care than the rest of us schlubs who just go home and put our feet in tubs of ice. He's going to get much better care, but still, ankle injuries are always very person-to-person, player-to-player, and how you come down on it. But, again, I hope you feel like that this is a part of the story arc where the Pelicans overcome it. They go into this game knowing what they have to do as a collective as opposed to just having Anthony Davis to propel you forward. And then this adds to that kind of air of just, man, this team has finally figured it out, and maybe they are going to make the playoff push that we hoped that they would do earlier in the season.
Do you all think they can win without AD?
I do. I think they can win tonight for sure, and I think they can beat the Jazz.
Yeah, I think they can beat the Wizards without him. I don't know if they can beat
tough, but
the Jazz. I think have won a bunch of road games. I think they've set a franchise record for most road wins in a row. I may be mistaken because I have been mistaken a lot lately.
The Jazz?
Yes. Am I wrong about that?
Well, they're 14-19 on the road, so
maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
You're probably thinking of the Pelicans because I think the Pelicans actually have set
the Pelicans
franchise.
have, yeah.
Yeah, the franchise record for wins on the road.
I think they've tied it, or I'm not going to say anything because I was wrong last time about their winning streak.
Yeah, Diesel's going to have to correct you on Twitter again.
I'm letting someone else chime in. I was corrected from my mistake. And what's funny is I kind of knew I might be making a mistake. That's the first rule in journalism. If your gut tells you, don't go with it. And
if your gut tells you, this might be shaky.
I need to do some more research.
Like a source or anything like that.
Oh, for sure on a source.
Absolutely.
But I'd actually done the research on the 10-game winning streak and somehow just overlooked it. I guess my old age coming into play again. But I do think Utah has won a certain amount of games on the road lately.
I think it's pretty remarkable. You're looking at the Western Conference standings right now, and Rockets have won their last 10. Of course, they've won 17 in a row. The Warriors are 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 7 in a row. The Blazers have won 8 in a row. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Of course, the Pelicans have won 10 in a row, and obviously they've 10-0 in their last 10. And then once you get below the Pelicans, all these other teams are floundering. Spurs are 3-7 in their last 10. The T-Wolves are 4-6. The Thunder are 6-4. The Clippers are now in the 8th spot. They are 6-4, even though they've lost, but Denver's lost 2. And the Jazz, what can the Jazz do? I feel like all I see them do is have these win streaks, and they can't get out of the 10th spot. It's pretty amazing how much of a run they've been on, and they can't move for trying.
And they were like 8 games under 500 the last time that they played the Pelicans, and now look at where they are at 35-30, and they're just trying at this point to just do whatever they can and hope that the teams in front of them lose. But again, it goes back to what we've talked about on the show. To win and to be in the playoff position in the West, you can't have a night off. You've got to be ready and prepared to play every night, because there are at least 5 to 6, maybe 7 teams that are all vying for spots, really 3 through 8.
All right.
Just real quick, 8 straight road wins for the Jazz. Franchise record.
All right.
Never doubt.
High five. You got
Never
one right.
a doubt.
He's going to start patting himself on the back on the YouTube stream now.
Never a doubt.
Atta baby. Good job, Jeff.
See, you win some and you lose some. That's a good Friday for you.
There we go. All right, let's take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, we'll of course keep diving into the Pelicans. Plenty of Saints news, and oh boy, you wanted me to not talk about panic? Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, headline on Brees Talk with Saints, is no news bad news? Should we start panicking? Oh no!
I'm not buying into that. That's just Mike trying to get clicks.
He got
That's
mine.
what he does.
He just sucked me in.
That's what he does.
Sucked me right in.
Well, it's not. Well, I mean, it's not hard for you. Clearly, you are very easily duped into doing things you shouldn't do. Peer pressure for you is not really something that we worry about with you.
I'm like Rodney Dangerfield. Oh, my arm! You can twist it any which way you want to do it. So
yeah.
Don't forget, top 11 o'clock hour, Todd Masson, our outdoors guru here at NOLA.com, the Times Picayune, on a Country Fried Friday. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duck and Holder. The Saints and Drew Brees are inching toward threat level midnight.
Pelicans,
What?
When AD is playing with a high amount of energy, he's shooting threes, getting offensive rebounds, running in transition, it's almost impossible to guard.
I was going to say in
the
this
Chris
email with
Show,
the
weekday afternoons 2 to 4.
I didn't think
this
we
Sunday, our iHeartRadio Music Awards are here for the love of music. See can't miss live performances by
Hazard sign.
Cardi B, Bon Jovi, Maroon 5, Camila Cabello, Charlie Puth, and surprises you'll have to see to believe.
Just please, please don't mess
on
with them.
TBS,
Just don't
TNT, and True TV.
Brought to you by Taco Bell. Introducing Taco Bell's $1 nacho fries, covered in bold Mexican spices and dipped in warm nacho cheese sauce. Now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
People who name their savings accounts
Now
save
Robert
more than
Mays
those who
on
don't.
The
The
Ringer.
following was inspired by a
just
Navy
imagine
Federal
Drew Brees
Credit
throwing
Union
to
savings
Adam
account
Thielen,
named
Stephen
Family
Diggs,
Vacation.
and Dalvin Cook, and promptly
This
passed
was
out.
such a
More
good
panic.
call.
Oh, we needed this.
Capital P.
What do you think
More
the kids
panic.
are up to?
The national folks are trying to build some panic.
That should be.
Open a Safe First account with
That-
Navy
yeah,
Federal
that should be the
Credit
next
Union.
thing.
And
Don't
give a
buy
name
into
to
the
what
panic.
you're saving for.
Don't buy into the
NavyFederal.org.
propaganda.
Open to everyone in the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families.
Panic.
Federally insured by
Otherwise, have a
NCUA.
great weekend.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a
Don't
little
touch
extra
our
heart
bleeping
into
knobs,
everything we
otherwise-
do, like actively looking
Oh, I
to
can't wait
save
to
you
see this
money.
on Slack.
Generics, 90-day refills,
can't wait to see
even
it on
more.
Slack.
The
Get a
guilty
$5
culprit.
Target
I
coupon
wonder if
for
they're gonna
every
raise their
10
hand.
prescriptions.
Yeah,
On your next
probably.
Target run,
Like, the
stop
thing
by
that galls
CVS
me is,
Pharmacy.
like,
We're the
first of
place
all, they
with the big
came in,
heart.
touched it, but
Not
they-
valid on all
you put it back
prescriptions,
where you
including those
did it,
purchased in
like,
Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply.
right.
See CVS.com/extracare-target.
There it is.
Oh, no.
To whom it may
Delete.
concern.
Delete, delete.
Health is everything.
The stars
Dave,
of ABC's Modern
Jeff
Family
is
lending
throwing
their
out
support to the
company-wide
students
civil
of the Florida High School
disobedience. He's
massacre.
just
We send our
ripping people
condolences
on our
and support to
in-house
the students
channel
of Parkland.
for touching the
A
knob.
Category 1 crisis.
I didn't want to say too much of a crisis.
To this senseless tragedy.
I don't think we need a do not disturb sign
Video
at Hazard
out
Tape,
featuring
but maybe
cast
we
members
do.
Ty
Otherwise, have a
Burrell,
great
Ed
weekend.
O'Neill and the rest expressing their condolences.
I think I handled it with the right tone.
Yeah, you're a prom, there's
Fighting
no
for
bounds.
common sense
Glad it
gun
was
laws.
you. I look
They
like a
promised to
good
be
guy.
right
Just
before
Yeah, I'm about to say,
just like
there'll be some.
24th, March 1st.
Just like that
Wait, what
old-
were y'all just saying?
Oh, Jeff sent out a company-wide admonishment.
Admonishment. Ooh.
To not touch the knobs ever.
It's ridiculous.
Nice. It's ridiculous. I smell an old man rant coming.
I'm in a good mood this morning because I actually came Convention Center Boulevard and it was wide open.
It wasn't terrible.
Why do you keep going down that street? Do you not learn your lesson?
Look, it's a massive street though, Dave. I mean, it really is to get to the building.
Well,
from I-10.
And sometimes you're just on autopilot. You're not even thinking.
Yeah, that's also true.
When I got caught up in the other day, it was the day after Larry had called, but I just was on the phone talking. I wasn't thinking. Next thing I knew, I was in HE double hockey sticks. I mean, people were just, there were buses and like Uber drivers and
humanoids.
You notice what people are doing, like between the neutral ground pole, they're parking in it, so nobody can
turn. On Sports 1280, New Orleans. That's what we're told.
A week from today, Dunc and Holder hits the road for happy hour. That's what I'm talking about. We'll be headed to the Troubadour Hotel next Friday, March 16th. That is the rooftop bar, the Monkey Board, 1111 Gravier Street. We'll be eating some crawfish from 5 to 7. I will be there. I'm assuming Clyde Verdun is not going to miss this for the world.
Absolutely not.
Jeff will unfortunately be globetrotting.
Yes.
I'll be there cat herding too.
You could absolutely do that. Maybe
whatever that means.
Maybe you could bring the horse sounder.
Clyde.
Crawfish herding too. You might lose some crawfish. They might be crawling around on the Troubadour floor.
But
that'll be your problem because they need to be cooked.
But we're looking forward to it. 5 to 7, we'll be there. They will have crawfish from 5 p.m. until the place runs out. $25 includes 3 pounds and 2 local draft beers. You can also reserve a cabana for your whole crew for a clean $500. None of that money goes into my pocket, unfortunately, but we will be there having a great time again next Friday, not today, next Friday, March 16th at the Troubadour Hotel Rooftop Bar, the Monkey Board. Crawfish boil, having a great time, 1111 Gravier Street. Come eat crawfish, drink beer, we'll talk sports. We'll probably needle Jeff since he won't be there because it's their faces, just saying.
I am devastated I'm not going to be there, but it sounds like a great time. And I've actually have not been to this hotel, the Rooftop Bar, but I've heard great things about it. Had friends that have been there. So hopefully it'd be something we could do again in the future because I'm sure it's going to be a great time on Friday night, especially if the weather continues, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to that. So let's switch gears here a little bit. We'll get back to the Pelicans later on in hour number 2. But Saints news and some significant Saints news. The Saints are hosting Muhammad Wilkerson, former Jets defensive lineman, one-time Pro Bowler, and people are asking me what I thought of this on Twitter, and my response was pretty simple in that if he's level-headed and doing things the right way, certainly seems like someone the Saints could use, and probably one of the more, if not the most, viable option on the free agent market right now for a defensive end and a pass rusher. But all you've got to do is go check out some of the stories that have been written and the coverage of him and some of the things that have happened to him. And it is certainly no low risk. This is a high risk move if the Saints decide to sign him. Now, if the price is right, it might not be that much of a risk, but he has had a certainly checkered past as far as the last couple of years with the Jets. And I'm leery if they're willing to spend big bucks because he's, like I said, there's not a big time edge rusher market. And Wilkerson, if you go look at some of the national projections as far as top free agent lists, they put Wilkerson at the top of the defensive end list, and it's sketchy. I'll just say some of his past is sketchy.
Yeah, he's got some off the field red flags, to say the least. He already has visited with Green Bay, who's also similarly desperate for defensive end help. And I think it's notable that he doesn't have a deal from them yet, right? So what is the market going to be for Muhammad Wilkerson? We know the Saints, that's their most glaring need, I think, in the entire starting lineup, projected starting lineup. are they willing to risk what they have, this good thing they have going right now? They have no off-the-field issues. Zero. This team, that's one of the most overlooked parts of this past season, was the fact that all these other teams had all these distractions and other things going on. The Saints were just sailing along like the Love Boat. They never really had any big. What was the biggest distraction?
Early on, they had the distraction with Delvin Breaux and the medical situation.
Well, that wasn't a big distraction.
It could have been.
It is in this town where everything gets overblown because it's the Saints, but by comparison, relative comparison, it's not.
Willie Snead getting the DWI suspended. That was one. Oh, you're asking me what they were. That's what they were.
If that's their biggest concerns, I would love to rank them compared to the other 30 teams in the league. For the most part, there was no players causing any commotion, no locker room cancers.
Well, you could say that the protests during or leading up to the national anthem, I think that caused a little bit of a stir. But that didn't happen just here. That wasn't uniquely New Orleans. That was around the league. But look, I'm just going to read the story from Manish Mehta.
Please do. I want to hear
from the New York Daily News. Just his portrayal of the situation. I'm going to sound like I'm reading for a while, but guess what? I'm going to read for a while because people need to know this. Just because you see Muhammad Wilkerson's name and you see Pro Bowl and double-digit sacks for a couple of years, here's what Manish did or wrote. Once they the Jets cut ties with Muhammad Wilkerson. He said, the Jets predictably cut Muhammad Wilkerson on Wednesday after his 2-year heist that pocketed him a cool $37 million. The habitually tardy and underachieving defensive lineman was deactivated for the final 3 games last season after repeatedly breaking team rules. He morphed from Pro Bowl player to Pro Bowl excuse maker before the Jets finally had enough and put him in timeout toward the end of the season before they could file divorce papers. And Todd Bowles saying of Wilkerson's release that it wasn't disciplinary at all. It's a business decision that we made. And also adding, this is Manish's words, Wilkerson was invisible after getting his big payday. He recorded only 8 sacks in 28 games and was disciplined multiple times for repeatedly being late to meetings and missing a practice since getting the monster deal that he had coveted for so long. So his original deal was 5 years, max out at $86 million, and he got that in the summer of 2016. And isn't that the same offseason where Cam Jordan got his deal?
Yes.
So both in the same draft class, and you look at both players and their trajectory. Wilkerson kind of started hot and dipped. Cam started slow and is ascending. But is this worth the risk? I could tell you the reaction from many Saints fans who have jumped on the comment section or jumped in my Twitter feed. They're all about it because they know there's such a need, and yet you hear this, and I can only hearken back to Junior Galette. I mean, because they did this, it bombed out, and they had to pay for it going forward. So I'm not sure. I would need to see the price tag on him to say yay or nay for a deal with the Saints.
I just think red flags, man. I'm leery of teams that cut loose guys like this. Even if you look at the Jets as dysfunctional, I'm still leery of it. It just very rarely does it ever pan out the way you think it will. Sometimes it does. Sometimes players get in a new environment, a new culture. Certainly the Saints have a very strong locker room. They have strong leaders. Guys like Cam Jordan can take him in and teach him the way things are done in New Orleans if he were to come aboard. But you just, I don't know, they got a good thing going. Are they that desperate to try and make a run for a ring? I mean, you could say the same thing right now about what's going on in Los Angeles. I mean, the Rams have brought in, or are going to bring in, Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. I mean, those are going to be their corners. 2 incredibly talented players, but also have had all kinds of off-the-field issues. Are they going for it? It looks like it.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. They've made all kinds of deals, and we haven't even really talked a lot about that. Look, they traded Alec Ogletree, their linebacker, but now they're
Robert Quinn.
Up. Right, they traded Robert Quinn. They're gearing up to lose Tremaine Johnson, which is why they go out and get Marcus Peters, and they go out and get Aqib Talib. And that is a team that seems like it's certainly going all in. I know the Saints want to go all in, but is this the guy you go all in with? Because I feel like he's going to command top dollar, and we've talked about this a bunch on the show. When a team lets a guy walk or just cuts a guy, a high-priced guy, they're not doing it just to do it. They're anybody who's on the free agent market means his old team doesn't want him because they would fight hard enough to retain him, and we've seen this happen so many times in the league. And it's free agency is a dicey game.
Yeah, totally. And the Saints have learned some hard lessons in recent years because of it. And I just feel like they built this roster, for the most part, through the draft without taking risks in free agency. The free agents they brought in aren't red flag candidates. Have they brought in anybody in the last year or two that have red flags? A.J. Klein wasn't. Ted Ginn Jr. wasn't. Who else am I leaving out here?
Manti Te'o, not red flags, but he came in with an injury concern.
I mean character issues. Is that what Mo Wilkerson's concerns are? Many.
Absolutely. And all these issues maybe affected him on the field, but then the argument is from Saints fans who want to see him, well, maybe he just laid down because the Jets are dysfunctional. And I respond back, maybe so, but you're getting paid a monster contract. You got to be a professional and do your job. Would you imagine Cam Jordan laying down? No. Would you imagine Drew Brees laying down? No. So this is an issue that, to me, it's dollars and cents. If the deal is right and you're not breaking the bank for this guy, and it's, say, a one-year prove-it deal a la Nick Fairley, something like that, I'd be okay with. But do not break the bank for Muhammad Wilkerson. It would be a mistake.
And it sounds like one of the issues, much like what happened with Tyrann Mathieu here, he needed to get away, and New York is his hometown area. He's from New Jersey. Maybe there is something to that. Maybe there is a possibility that if he got out of that environment, got away from some of the bad influences that have affected him, he would be better, much the way Tyrann Mathieu revived his career and excelled out in Arizona.
All right, let's take a break right here on this show. Don't forget, top 11 o'clock hour, we'll talk with our outdoors guru, Todd Masson. We're going to take your phone calls, 504-260-1280, because I'm working on a couple of pieces over the weekend. My free agent wish lists for the offense and the defense for the Saints. Want to get your reaction. I got a lot on Twitter, so we'll go through some of that, and we'll get all of our reactions here at Sports1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Stay with you forever, drag you
So Mark and Carolyn both jumped on the case. Immediately jumped on. They said it could have been somebody new.
This report is brought to you by 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating.
Happy Friday from the Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino, and a beautiful day is on tap with temperatures climbing into the low 70s this afternoon under sunny skies. We'll see tonight a few clouds moving back in, temperatures only dropping into the 50s on both sides of the lake, and then a warmer day in store tomorrow as even more cloud cover and some scattered showers move into the area. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great weekend.
Together with Mike Rowe, 1 Hour encourages you to choose licensed technicians to service your home. Call 1 Hour today. 855-1-HOUR.
To record like a 5-minute.
O'Reilly. Pick up Long Life Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant for $8.99 a gallon after mail-in rebate at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Protect against damaging rust and corrosion with Peak Pre-Mixed Coolant, now $8.99 a gallon after mail-in rebate at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly. Are you saying we got sabotaged?
We can help you.
Maybe.
What? Was it WWL? Those sons of bitches. I'm gonna get them.
I know who it is who did it now for sure.
Ryan,
we know the culprit.
Welcome, Ryan. What can I help you with today?
It's like, dang it.
Marmalade dead. Peter Meyer dead. This is Fargan War.
Downward dog.
Y'all are crazy people.
Marmalade dead. That's like my favorite scene.
Now federal.org/making sense. Federal insurance.
We're just the guys that do it.
CVS Pharmacy and
This
Target
calls for an obscene gesture on somebody's
like
part.
actively looking to save you money. Generics,
just the guys
90-day refills,
We're
even
just the guys
rewards.
that do it.
Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by.
All right, we got it. Joe in Kenner.
All right, cool.
Fargan war.
Just in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See CVS.
Have you ever seen Johnny Dangerously?
No.
Oh my God!
I've heard of it.
Should I?
You summon a beaching ice hose. This is Fargan war. I'm just laughing at myself. You seem to laugh.
Well, none of us have seen it. We can't relate.
I know.
But your enjoyment of it gives us enjoyment, though.
Screw you guys.
No, but your enjoyment of it gives us enjoyment, so we appreciate it.
Dude, that was great. I loved it. You sounded a little like Cartman there. It's pretty funny. Screw you guys.
Big man, do it.
You're way too good at that. You're way too good at that.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Asking people
Jeff
to send
Cartman.
them a small amount of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
So who's it,
in
Joe and
exchange for
Kenner?
a larger sum as part of a giveaway.
Yes.
Cool.
It says they're trying to preempt and block the decision.
On the eve of free agency, the cautionary tale
YouTube
of
TV is teaming up with
Indomitian
Major League
Sue.
Baseball streaming service, adding the MLB network to its growing number of channel offerings, and also signing on to presenting sponsor of the World Series for another 2 years.
Nah, come on back.
Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
Whose bed have your boots been under?
It's your home. This is where you talk to home teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show. Talking Saints, Muhammad Wilkerson, Saints free agency. Let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Let's head out to Kenner. Let's talk with Joe. Hey, Joe. Thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Fellas? Hey, with the Saints signing, Coleman from the Panthers and going out to Muhammad, they must know what they're working with the cap, correct?
You would assume they have a
hey,
good parameter as far as what the Drew Brees. I'm sure they're not 10. I don't think they're 10 million off of a projection with Drew Brees and his camp. I think it's hassling over a couple of million here and there. So I think they've got a good projection and a good mind frame of where they're going. And just remember the cap. That's not including a full Drew Brees deal. It is including $6 million of dead money, and then it's also not including a Coleman deal, but it's around $30 million. So they've got some money to play with, and even when they don't have a lot of money to play with, they're still able to kind of kick the can down the road. They've done it for years.
And I just think every time the Saints go after a high-priced free agent, it seems to blow up in their face. I just like the way they would do. Work through the draft and sign, not high-priced free agents, but, mid-market free agents. And I don't like the move. I hope it doesn't blow up in their face, guys. Thanks a lot.
You got it, Joe. I appreciate the call. And, yeah, look, the way they've been able to build this thing back up has been these middle-market free agents a la A.J. Klein, a la Ted Ginn. Now, you could argue that they did pay handsomely for Larry Warford.
They did.
But that is certainly worth it. But they didn't pay top dollar. They passed on Kevin Zeitler, who was known as the best guard on free agency. I think that contract ended up being like $12 million a year annually on average. Larry Warford's deal is around $8 million a year on average. That was the market value. Obviously a great pickup. I touted him as soon as they picked him up. I knew he'd be a very good player and made himself a Pro Bowler in year one with the Saints.
Well, and our friend Manish Mehta, who's covered this story up in New York for the New York Daily News, I mean, he has a pretty strong tweet about it. He knows Wilkerson's background, covered him the entire time during his Jets career, and he says this would be the worst place for Wilkerson given his issues with alcohol in the past. So I trust his judgment on that. Now, who knows? I mean, the Saints obviously know probably every thread of detail about his background, but you just have to wonder sometimes, does the lure of another Super Bowl, it can cause you to maybe become impulsive, and this sounds like maybe they're just bringing him in to do their due diligence, but usually when they bring a guy in, they have something in mind.
Well, that was going to be my question to you guys, because I know on the YouTube stream we're getting a lot of folks who are wondering whether or not it's worth it to just say, hey, maybe bring him in on a one-year deal and see what you can do, but is a player like Muhammad Wilkerson going to want to go for that? And then two, how, as a staff and an organization, do you feel like you are one player, one free agency signing, one rookie signing away from being a team that's under 500 or a team that's playing the Super Bowl, and how much does that go into offseason moves and things like this?
Well, I can understand Saints fans leaning back to 2014 because they thought, at least in the Saints' head, they thought they were one player away, and they jettisoned Darren Sproles, they let Malcolm Jenkins walk, and they thought that one player away was Jarris Byrd, and we saw that blew up in their face, and they went from 11-5 in the playoffs to 7-9, 7-9, 7-9.
And look, I think you brought up Nick Fairley. That's a very good point, and I think it's something we should all think about because Nick Fairley had a lot of red flags as well. He got down here, got in this culture, and thrived. I mean, he blossomed with the atmosphere and the support network that's around him in that locker room.
I don't mean to cut you off, but he even thrived and had some troubles off the field. Not troubles, but
I know what you mean.
His mother passed away.
Right.
And so that was something where it could certainly affect you. And it seemed like he was close to home. I think that was probably a big thing for him. But yeah, his mother died suddenly, and yet he was able to have support from within the team and had arguably, probably not arguably, his best season of his career, and parlayed that into a contract. Now you could argue that the next contract, maybe the Saints didn't do enough homework on his heart issue, whatever, but that one-year deal worked. And you could also argue that the one-year deal worked certainly with Alex Okafor, and if he doesn't sustain that injury, the Saints are probably inking him to a long-term deal, and we're not even worrying about Muhammad Wilkerson.
I would say this. I know the Saints were high on Wilkerson when he came out of the draft in 2011. They liked him a lot. I remember Sean Payton saying that. So maybe this is a perfect marriage because it's a need, and he wants to go to a winner. And look, I think you get in these really bad situations with bad teams, and sometimes vulnerable people crack, and that could be what's happening here. If he gets into a better environment, surrounded by better leadership and a more functional locker room and organization, maybe it works out.
Well, I remember in that draft, Cam Jordan, the Saints took him, and Wilkerson was, I think, number 31 overall in that draft. And
30.
Number 30 overall.
Charles, slide down.
And Cam Jordan was, 24th? So, and look at that draft. Pass rushers everywhere.
Yep,
it was
great draft.
A great draft overall. I mean, that was Julio Jones, Patrick Peterson.
Von Miller.
J.J. Watt. You can go on and on with that
Tyron
draft.
Smith.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of the best drafts of the last decade. Easy.
Absolutely. All right, let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280. Let's go to Charles. Hey, Charles. Thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, guys. I just wanted to mention this. I haven't heard anybody really talking about it, but I'm very interested to see the path that it looks like the Saints are following is where they've been the number one team in the NFL in regards to ignoring compensatory picks for the last entire length of Sean Payton's career here. And right now they've got it set up to where, if you look at Coleman, the free agent they just signed, he's not a CFA, so in other words, he's a guy who will not count against their compensatory pick system.
Yep.
If they bring in Muhammad Wilkerson, he is also a player who is not counting against their compensatory pick system. And we have at least two, up to maybe four. Kenny Vaccaro is going to be leaving, and can probably fetch maybe a probably a fourth-round compensatory pick, depending on what happens next year. Kilamente is a guy who will probably be a fifth or sixth round compensatory pick back for us next year. And then depending on what happens with the restricted free agents, Bro and Snead, those guys could both end up being probably more like 7-round picks, but possibly a 6th-round pick compensatory, for each of them. So it looks like if they keep going in this direction that they're kind of flowing right now, they may be reverting to where they're trying to collect these picks through the compensatory pick system, which they've never done. And I'm really hopeful it's what they do, because that's what the most successful teams in the NFL do, at least long-term consistency-wise. But, so I want to bring that up. I haven't heard anybody really talk about it, but it's something I'm really, really watching to see if they get any free agents who are, unrestricted that have not been cut from other teams.
No, that's a good point, and appreciate the phone call. Yeah, absolutely. When you go this route, you could certainly see maybe some strategy. I don't know if that's totally the strategy, because if you're the Saints, you know Kurt Coleman, and you feel like he could come in and be a veteran, and he'll be cheaper than Kenny Vaccaro, so you bring him in, and you know he's viable and good locker room guy. That's all we've ever heard from Kurt Coleman, being someone who could come in and be a good locker room guy. And yet, Muhammad Wilkerson, is it worth the risk? But yeah, it's probably not their whole strategy, but Ed is a good byproduct. If you go this route, you could actually have a compensatory pick, which I don't think the Saints have had one since the start of Prohibition. I don't think they've ever had one.
Wasn't Marcus Colston a compensatory pick?
No, he was not. No, he was one of the. He was maybe 3 or 4 picks. He was 3 or 4 picks away from the compensatory picks.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to believe that that's what they're doing when they've never done it. But maybe Jeff Ireland's had some influence there. It certainly would be smart, though, if you are interested in signing him, to do it now before he becomes a free agent. So Charles makes a very good point, and I know that was definitely a factor for the Saints in signing Kurt Coleman. But the Saints also just wanted Kurt Coleman. I mean, they were really, really high on him. They were so high on him that Sean Payton filmed a video of himself and sent it to Kurt Coleman, and he looked like a guy that just won the lottery on the streets of Indianapolis. He was so excited. That's Sean Payton, but they beat out a lot of teams to get Kurt Coleman, and they're going to have to beat out some teams for Mo Wilkerson because he's got the skills to be a factor.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a break right here on the show, and don't forget, in about 15 minutes, talk a little outdoors with our man Todd Masson, but we'll keep taking your phone calls, 504-260-1280. Your thoughts on Muhammad Wilkerson, free agents you're looking at, and is it time to panic? Because Drew Brees, he might be a Minnesota Viking. You never know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Not on a Friday. You can't do that to everybody.
Love it. Shenanigan Fridays.
Let's do it. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Older.
Someone, did you see what this
I like it.
guy
I love it.
tweeted at us? Yeah.
What'd he say?
About to respond.
Bailey's Irish Cream.
Boomer Esiason on the radio this morning said he thought New Orleans would be bad news for Muhammad, but New York and the...
What is big? Big is DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. Fire and Ice, Boogie and the Brow. It's two of the league's most dynamic big men. It's razor wire around the rim on defense.
They'll have him on and he'll get screaming matches.
Screaming matches.
Yeah.
Like it gets on, knock down, drag out fights.
Sunday, March 11th. Join the Pels for a night of family fun at the Smoothie King Center. Visit Pelicans.com for tickets. New Orleans Pelicans. Do it big.
This Sunday,
yeah, I did not realize
Music
that
Awards are here for the love of music. See can't miss live performances by Ed Sheeran, Cardi B, Bon Jovi, Maroon 5, Camila Cabello, Charlie Puth, NERD surprises your.
Yeah, he's been on top of that for a long time.
Sunday night
I trust him
on TBS, TNT,
especially with these kind of stories because you know that they know the teams always know, the beat writers always know. A lot of times stuff doesn't even get out.
Serving at a Taco Bell near you.
I love to play it safe, especially
Why don't we
when it
do
comes
a
to
Twitter
my
poll?
facility
Should
and
the
my
Saints
guys.
sign him? That'd be good.
Everyone's got their PPE.
You know me,
Safe
Pole
boots,
Daddy.
Pole
safe
Daddy
goggles,
over here.
Safe gloves.
Should the Saints?
That's copyrighted by Pole Daddy,
If I
but
could make
we
the
can
vending
give
machine
it to
safer around here, I would.
Just do
Believe me,
it.
I'd
Should
try.
they
Do it for like an hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it for an hour.
Pass or
When it
whatever.
comes to safety,
What are the
you've got
options?
my
Just
back.
yes or no?
To help keep my facility safe and my people
I
safe.
mean, you can have up to 4, but like
Granger.
yes or no.
Like
Granger.
yes,
yes,
no.
by any means necessary.
Chili's wants to know, when was the last time you had a great lunch?
When was the last time you had a great lunch?
Oh, and we're singing too.
We go way back, baby, back with our singing.
Yeah, we do, but lunch is our thing too.
We've got 10 lunches for just $7.
Burgers,
No, but I like where you're going though, because I mean, you can have 4, then you might as well.
All right, give them more
It's
options.
even better when you say it that way.
It's pretty much the same thing, but I flipped it. Chili's is back, baby, back, baby,
why you put
back.
yes
Lunch
by
for
any
$7.
means.
Oh, take Chili's lunch to go,
Yes,
baby, go, baby, go.
Available at participating restaurants only. Prices may vary in Hawaii, not available on
I got
Alaska
you.
and
I
Canada.
got you.
Baker Mayfield.
Thousands of cheerleaders and fans could be at risk for the months following a national competition in Dallas last month. It featured competitors from 39 states, and those in attendance was approaching mumps, the disease typically prevented through vaccination. It's as contagious as influenza and can cause a swollen face. The Colorado Department of Public Health has mystery on its hands, Dr. Danica Lee
let's not
says
push the
she's
limits,
to
Jeff.
find out how someone in Denver
push
got
the limits,
sick
Jeff.
with hantavirus.
When's
It's
Nichols
rare.
play, by the way, Big Dog? Today? They got to be today. Because they got the double bye.
Yeah, they've got to play.
Yeah, it's like
I watched all three of our teams play last night.
30 seconds.
We should talk about that at
Since
some point.
1993 that a hantavirus case has
really
popped up
ever
in
in it.
Denver.
LSU made a
Investigators
little
say
bit
they're
of a
not
run.
concerned that the patient's friends or family will get sick. Health Update,
depressing.
Sarah Lee
Well, Tulane was
Kessler,
ahead for a while.
NBC News Radio.
Then it all came
I'm
out.
Tony Goldwyn. 20 years ago, when my mom had lung cancer, she didn't have many choices. But today, you do. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, please visit standuptocancer.org
coming back
to learn more.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Here it is. Just popped up on my screen from Deadspin. Come to Minnesota, Drew Brees. I think it's the panic as we get toward the weekend and we turn into only a couple of days away from the start of free agency. And don't forget, on Monday, teams are legally open to talking to players and such. You can't sign them until next Wednesday, but you're able to start. And I was teasing, sort of, about the headlines that I keep seeing on Twitter. We've had Robert Mays on from The Ringer before on our show. He says he's already dreaming of Drew Brees throwing the ball to Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook and who else? Stephon Diggs, and then Mike Florio from Pro Football Talks trying to drive the needle that caused the Drew Brees panic. I'm getting last couple of days from my mentions in Twitter. People are panicking. The deal hasn't happened yet. Is Drew Brees leaving? Jeff, get the panic button.
I need to talk
get the
you
panic
off
button.
The Crescent City connection.
I think as I keep talking my way through this, I'm starting to reach for the panic button. I'm starting to do it.
That's the problem in this day and age. We talk about it a lot on the show with the 24/7 coverage of the NFL. It just happens, right? Everybody's weighing in. There's all these different outlets that are charged with covering the NFL, and you end up with your best bet, Larry's, just to get out and go fishing somewhere and get your mind off of it. And we'll talk later on.
Go fishing
about that.
Go fishing.
Just get away from the screen, because the 24/7 coverage, you get bombarded in social media. All of a sudden, panic sets in.
I'm facetious in my panic. I'm still not panic. I'm not at all. And there's a reason why you wrote about it once, I feel like, in this offseason on Drew. I wrote about it once in this offseason. And the column we both essentially wrote was, don't panic. This is not out of the ordinary. It's just not. Every deal we've seen the Saints go with Drew Brees, they push it to a little bit of a limit. There's some bargaining going on, but it gets done. There's no reason to think.
Exactly.
It's not anybody who's writing these things don't understand the landscape or just doing it for shock value.
They're doing it for click value. I mean, come on,
Potentially.
Drew Brees contract. They know Saints fans they're among the most rabid fans on the internet. Been proven. Saints have analytics on that. Saints fans are all over the internet, and it works.
Drew Brees is a fantastic quarterback. I mean, this should be a compliment to the fact that clearly for the last almost, dozen years now, we've had one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, one of the best quarterbacks over the same stretch as Tom Brady, other players like that. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, other teams who are desperate to feel the euphoria of what the Saints felt in 2009. Everybody wants that, and everybody's going to do that. That's why I say stay with your local people. Like, everybody who has boots on the ground here in the city know what's going to happen. Anybody else outside of these walls, specifically the area, that includes our competitors, that includes people like, obviously our friend Mike Triplett, who works for ESPN, but he's here in the city. That's the way it happens. Like, anything outside these walls, it's going to be fodder. It's going to be tabloid specific. It's going to be just absolute pandemonium until it happens, and then we just go back to regular programming.
Or Mark Sessler from NFL.com tweeting, the Bears need a backup quarterback behind Mitch Trubisky. Wonder if Chase Daniel would make some sense. Spent years with Matt Nagy in Kansas City. What if this is all the plan? They're going to let Drew Brees walk. Chase Daniel's going to go to Chicago.
Taysom
Hill time. Tony Romo 2.0.
The Taysom takeover.
Let's get started. And then they can go spend on whoever they want because Taysom Hill costs about as much as a cup of coffee.
I love how Peyton backtracked on that at the Combine. I didn't say he's the next guy up. No, you know what you said exactly? You said the next quarterback is in the building. That's what you said. Or Troy Aikman's misquoting you.
Maybe the next quarterback is Willie Snead, and he's going to overthrow an open guy and ruin
that pass was so pretty, though.
Classic
man.
SP.
Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We'll head outdoors. Literally. We'll talk with our man Todd Masson, and we'll keep taking your phone calls. And we want to get your Saints free agent wish list. I'm going to be working on a piece this weekend, and what's your insight? So 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. Country Fried Friday on a Dunc and Holder.
Getting any response?
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do.
They're 91
like
now.
Actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills,
I
even
put it
rewards.
like for an hour,
Get
10
a
minutes
$5 Target coupon for
I think it
every
was
10
smart to do the stagger.
On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
There's no wrong way to eat an Oreo cookie.
We have to read this one on the
just
air.
in case you need a refresher,
Sheldon Edwards tweeted. You see that Sheldon Edwards tweet?
What?
Twist.
Look at the Dunc and Holder account
Step
from
3,
Sheldon Edwards,
dunk.
that tweet.
Step 4, repeat. Preferably with family, friends, and anyone else who wants a taste. See, you can't go wrong by twisting, licking, and
That's a
dunking
great
Oreo
tweet.
cookies. Just grab a cold glass.
We've got to
of milk
read that
and
one.
practice easy steps.
I got
Soon
it.
enough, you'll understand why Oreo is Milk's favorite cookie.
He didn't
Try
cuss,
it today.
did he?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
WODT,
Stop
WNOE,
stop trying to be the moral police.
on the free
Oh,
iHeart
another
Radio
Super
app.
Bowl.
Search
Fox Sports trending now.
There is a new leader at the Valspar Championship, and it's a familiar name, that being Tiger Woods, as he sits on the 15th hole, about 15 feet away with a birdie putt, sitting alone at the top at 5 overall, leading this tournament by 1 shot. He's 4 under for the day. After injuring his ankle again Thursday night against San Antonio, Warriors guard Steph Curry will not travel with the team for games at Portland and Minnesota. Golden State currently on a 7-game win streak. March Madness action about to get underway with conference tournament games. In the American Conference, 8th-ranked Cincinnati takes on SMU. In the Atlantic 10, number 25 Rhode Island is playing Virginia Commonwealth. Coming up at 1 Eastern, Alabama will face number 16 Auburn in the first SEC quarterfinal. I'm Ralph Urban.
We are Fox.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Mitch on the mic, and we've got Yogi Master Theo answering your questions.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we have the first caller. Here's Ryan from Georgia.
Welcome, Ryan. What can I help you with today?
Hi, Katie. What steps should I take to maintain my zen while applying for my first mortgage?
Mortgage?
I'm gonna need to meditate on that one.
Go to a yoga master to perfect your downward dog. Go to Making Sense from Navy Federal to perfect your mortgage plan. Stretch your financial knowledge at NavyFederal.org/making sense. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do. Like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey,
Yeah, right?
New York. Other restrictions
Yeah, no one's saying it's like,
Target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
You don't have to sacrifice style to have a floor that's 100% waterproof for life. Because the Home Depot has Pergo Outlast Plus Laminate starting at just $279 a square foot. With 22 colors, including on-trend grays, Pergo Outlast Plus can fit any style, in any room, beautifully, and resist water.
Get Pergo Outlast Plus starting at just $279 a square foot at the #1 Pergo waterproof laminate flooring retailer, the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only. See warranty for details.
Running low on the stuff you need? Time for a Target run. We're here for all the big moments and the little ones too, like turning errand day into all done day. Get $10 off when you spend $40 on everyday must-haves like Tide and Bounty. Or Taco Night. Find toppings like Market Pantry cheddar cheese on sale 2 for $4. And pick up a 2-pack of Crest 3D toothpaste, just $6.99. Get low prices on thousands of items today and every day. Target run and done. Pricing may vary, restrictions may apply.
You don't say.
Level of cursing.
Well, you did.
Some gentlemen.
I said so. Yeah, you did. Yes,
probably every day.
To the Florida High School Massacre.
You'd be surprised that happens.
Support to the students.
I'd catch it every day. I'm like, I'd forget it.
It's like,
Are you sure I cussed?
Oh yeah, I did.
I'm down both you all.
In response to this senseless tragedy inspires us.
You said one, Dave said two.
Members Ty Burrell, Ed O'Neill, and the rest expressing their condolences and support for the shooting victims and for those fighting for common sense.
Yeah, on the actual air.
They promise to be right beside.
I got called out.
Part of the March 24th March for
I got called out.
And elsewhere.
Some guy asked me what I thought of Wilkerson. I said, I'm leery but intrigued.
Markle, now baptized.
And he said, me too. And then some guy goes, how about getting off the fence, Jeff, and give us a yes or a no?
Baptized in a ceremony by the Archbishop of Canterbury at Palace. The secret ceremony followed by her confirmation. Camilla also attends the wedding set for May 19th. E! News reporting actress Heather Locklear checking into a treatment facility after being arrested for domestic violence late last year.
What a good day to go down there, man. Beautiful afternoon. Good day to be alive.
Rihanna reportedly coming out with a lingerie line. BET reporting
did you ever know Rebecca Conwell?
Textile
I don't know if you knew her. She's
the collection.
Friend of mine.
Apparently working
friends
on
Terry
for over
Tricali and that group.
Make samples.
And she works for economic development for the mayor.
Here's the thing. Company behind online shopping outlets Just Fab.
I'm calling Masson, right?
Yeah.
Right. 1 minute.
So her longtime boyfriend, Glenn Newbyer's attorney in town. They've been living together for 10 years. Like died suddenly like 2 weeks ago. Had like one of those cardiac embolisms where you get like a blood clot that moves up in your heart.
Congress actually made this credit for generous starting
disaster.
In 2018.
I heard about that happening to like an ESPN PR woman. Do you remember reading about that a few years ago? She went to like Hawaii. That's why they tell you on those long flights you should get up and walk around because you can get like a clot.
Another thing to remember is that having children can qualify you for the Earned Income Tax Credit. This benefit can allow parents to get thousands of dollars in tax breaks. Parents with children under the age of 13 can also get some of the money they spend on childcare covered with the child and...
Hey, I'm getting a Joel.
Older tax breaks.
Did I send you the wrong text?
Medical expenses.
Sorry,
like all the costs associated with having a baby.
Yeah, some 232 number. I couldn't find it in time.
I hit the wrong number. Hold on.
Yeah, let's just get him on and just ask.
Wait, I didn't send you Todd Massan's number?
You did, but it said it said this is Joel, but if you're looking for Todd, call this number. It was like 232, and then I couldn't get it. Right down.
Oh, okay. Oh crap.
We have the home team
he's got a new number. So.
Let's help the American Cancer Society help
dropping
those
the ball,
with cancer.
Dropping the ball, Dunc.
Join us.
That's the number I texted him on.
Help attack cancer in our community.
Okay, men. Time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Just tell them to call 260-1280.
232-3054?
3054, okay.
232-3054.
All right, I'm calling them now.
All right, thanks.
This vote's quick. This vote's quick. 2 minutes.
Dunc and Older, hour number 2 on a Friday, March 9th. Larry Older, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here with you at NOLA.com. Tom Speaking Studios. Dave DeCorbier back in iHeart Central. And now joining us from an undisclosed boat location on a water somewhere in the world is our own outdoors guru, Todd Masson. What's up, buddy? I told you it wouldn't be long till we talk to you again. Now you're just coming on every week. What's up?
Yeah, no doubt. I've been looking forward to it since the last time we did it.
Where are you at right now, Todd?
You're not supposed to tell us. It's a secret.
I am on the Nile River in Egypt.
Good fishing there. I hope the company paid for your flight and for everything to get out there.
Are you kidding? Come on, you know better than that. Yeah, no, actually, my son and I are fishing the scenic, beautiful Tchefuncte River on the North Shore in St. Tammany Parish. It is just a beautiful day. Now, it's a beautiful day for everything but fishing because it is bluebird, high pressure, and the bass are being very, very tight-lipped today. So, we'll see. We got a tournament tomorrow. We're kind of pre-fishing for that, and hopefully do a little better tomorrow than we're doing today.
Now, the Tchefuncte is kind of your backwoods, right? I mean, your backyard. You know that river very well, right?
It is, yeah. Actually, my neighborhood is on the Tchefuncte River, so we do fish it a good bit. Now, I'll tell you this about the river. It stinks. It is terrible. It's an absolutely brutally tough fishery. If I didn't live here, I would never fish it. But we do fish it a lot just because it's so convenient. And, it's got some bass. It's got some sockeye. Got some, here and there, big bass. But it's just, you got to work. You got to earn them. You catch a fish here, you feel really good about it, every single one you catch.
Todd Masson, NOLA.com, Thomas Picayune, our outdoors guru. Just a refresher, let everyone know where to catch all of your great work. Marshman Masson is blowing up bigger than the Spice Girls. That's what I've heard.
Bigger than the Spice Girls. What is this, 1992?
Huge. Hey,
yeah, I tell you what. Yeah, it is. Very, very fortunate. Marshman Masson, it's a YouTube channel and gaining subscribers like mad, putting up lots and lots and lots of content based right here in South Louisiana and having a blast doing it. And, boy, I tell you, it's been a good stretch because the fishing has been top-notch in South Louisiana, despite some fairly adverse conditions. We've had a lot of wind this spring, not very uncommon in spring. This is kind of our windiest season. But even though that wind's been blowing and we've had some up and downs temperature-wise, the fish have been cooperating, mostly on topwater baits. That's what I've been doing. Kind of got the topwater bug this year because it's been so good. So I've been just really focused on that, throwing almost nothing else, and just having some really, really good success. Fished Monday, took a good buddy of mine named Justin Bowles out to, we went out of Wrigley's Marina and got on a really, really fast bite. Now, the fish were not that big. I'd been catching bigger fish prior to that, but we caught a couple of 20-inch speckled trout. Everything else was probably between 13 and 15 inches. We kept feeding 13 to 15-inch speckled trout to go and try and find bigger ones. We never succeeded in finding bigger fish, but still, even catching those 13 to 15-inch fish on topwaters is a whole lot of fun. It is really a blast. Also caught some fish on a jerkbait called a mirror lip. It's a new jerkbait made by Mirror. Very, very happy with that bait. Definitely something I would recommend for people. Now, the key to both those lures is fishing clear water. Neither one does well in water that's even moderately stained. You want something that's really, really pretty. Also, you want to find some grass and you want to find some mullet. Mullet is less important with that stick bait than it is with the topwater bait, but definitely you want to find some type of bait. But that's really fishing 101. If you find the prey, generally you're going to find the predators.
Todd, I love that video you did with Justin, and I'm curious. That was the expectant father, right?
Yes.
And?
Actually, his wife gave birth last night to a baby boy. Both are very healthy. Get this, Jeff. The little boy weighed 10 pounds, 5 ounces.
Whoa!
Not a little boy.
5 ounces. Oh, my son has a fish on right at this moment. He's bringing it in the boat. Nice keeper one. So that's
See,
good. Maybe
we're good luck
around here on the Tchefuncte.
The Duncan Holder luck charm. That's us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Credit y'all.
Hey, Todd, talking about adverse conditions and strange things, at least in the news, obviously one of the biggest things that's been dominating this past week has been the opening of the Bonnet-Carré Spillway and the height of the Mississippi. One question I had for you was specifically in, what that does to, fishing in Lake Pontchartrain or along the Mississippi, depending on, how that happens. But just talk a little bit about your expertise and understanding how really with something as big as opening this up and how it changes ecologically the system around the lake and then other areas like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of people think it's catastrophic. I have the opposite opinion. I love freshwater. You know, this whole area was built because of the Mississippi River. We live on a river delta. We're supposed to have freshwater inflows into our marshes. That's supposed to happen. So I don't object to that at all. In fact, I kind of welcome spillway openings. They definitely cause short-term displacement of some fish. No question. Speckled trout are going to be bunched up in eastern Lake Pontchartrain. Then once that river water gets into that area, they're going to be pushed out into Lake Bourne, and then possibly eventually into Breton Sound. But, you know, that's what's supposed to happen as we move through the spring into the summer. Those fish move outside anyway to spawn. Now, you know, fish that have really taken off in that whole Lake Pontchartrain basin have been bass. Largemouth bass have been just fantastic in that whole area. The Lower Pearl, the Chef Pass area, all that has really exploded since they dammed off the MRGO. That freshwater is going to do nothing but help that. And every year when you have a Bonacary spillway opening, you get a ton of bait that moves into the lake. And so things just kind of explode. It takes a little bit of time for all that to work its way through the ecosystem. But come fall, we're going to have excellent speckled trout fishing in the lake. Definitely very good red fishing. Bass fishing will stay strong, and you'll also have a very, very good crab run in Lake Pontchartrain. So, you know, people kind of look at the short term and say, oh, man, I can't go to the trestles and catch speckled trout like I normally do in May because there's so much fresh water. Yeah, that may be true, but in the long term, it's going to do nothing but good things for the fishing in our area.
All right, Todd, so if somebody's looking for somewhere to go this weekend, where would you give them advice? What's the hot spot? Is there an area that you would recommend for somebody going out this weekend, try and catch some, I guess, specks or reds or whatever out in the marsh?
Yeah, definitely. I tell you, there's probably a lot of areas that are going to be good this weekend, but I would look toward that Delacroix, Hopedale, Shell Beach area. You know, that area is going to be protected. We've had this kind of northwest, even north wind blowing for a few days. It's supposed to switch around to the south, get that return flow. That is definitely going to help the fish to bite. Tomorrow, I think, probably is going to be a pretty good day. Now, I will tell you this. You might be having to deal with some dirty water. You're going to have to do a little bit of hunting to find some clear water because we're going to have a hard rising tide tomorrow because nature hates a void, and right now we kind of got a void. All that water got pushed out with that wind, and once that return flow comes back, all that water is going to come back into the marshes. So be mindful of that. Don't look at your tide charts. They're going to be irrelevant. We're going to have a hard rising tide tomorrow. I'd bet anything on it. So keep that in mind. Hunt for clear water. Don't waste your time fishing a lot of dirty water, but my focus would be east side of the river, anywhere from Point Lahash up to Shell Beach.
Todd Masson, follow him on Twitter at @TMassonFish, and check out all of his great insight and videos and on our YouTube channel, NOLA.com. Marshman Masson. Well, Todd, awesome job. Appreciate it. And guess what? You're coming on every week. It's over. We've already signed a contract. I got in touch with your agent while you were talking. You're in. You'll get $3 in candy per appearance. So all good for you.
Man, make it $3 in fishing lures and I'm in.
All right, we'll do it. Todd, great insight. Awesome job. Appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Next week.
Yep, that's it. Todd Masson. Can you say a must follow, must watch, everything to do with outdoors? My goodness. I don't know how much more information he could have jam-packed in there. It was incredible.
He's out on the Chafuncta River. His son's catching a bass, and he's doing a radio show.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
The world we live in.
He's pretty talented.
That's the world he lives in.
Yeah, that's not the world we live in.
That world. We want to live in that world, but he's tremendous. Have to follow all of his coverage. And, yeah.
His videos are awesome.
Absolutely.
They really are awesome. I mean, you don't even have to be a huge fishing fan or fisherman or angler to enjoy them.
Absolutely. And we're going to have him on every week because we know how big it is. And we'll either have him on Thursday or Friday just because you get the weekend and people want to get outdoors, obviously. So, all right. Come on back. Got a few more segments coming up, and we'll still be talking Saints. We'll be talking college basketball. Let's get into that. Some Louisiana teams are left. Others are
and maybe
done. What?
If you're a good boy, I think we can talk reality television in the last segment.
Oh, yeah, you started a fire, by the way.
This may be, again, the greatest day of my life. I thought 2 days ago was. Today might be even better.
We're going to top it.
Claude's my friend today here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holden.
Step forward.
the lead story on the NOLA.com homepage today. Bachelorette, Clay Harbor.
Is it? Yeah, I thought you would have seen that. I thought you would have said something about it.
Mike Scott got a hold of the guy and wrote the story.
Wrote the story and everything, dude.
Politics and news.
You're welcome, humanity.
It's everything Louisiana. Looking forward.
Did you let them know that, or did they pick it up on their own?
Like it is
well, maybe they heard it. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
you heard it on the show.
Yeah, Mike Scott had a whole story.
Yeah, he had a huge big story on it. He had talked to him and everything. Had his tweets.
They talked to Clay Harbor.
Yeah.
Did they talk to him? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
I thought he talked to like some guy that.
Oh, he talked to Reality Steve.
Reality Steve.
Reality Steve. Yeah.
Reality Steve apparently. I didn't realize he broke this.
Yeah, about the finale.
The finale, like a month before it happened. Bachelorette. He's wired in.
We can get with him. We can get with Charleston.
We should get Reality Steve on our show. Talk about Clay Harbor.
Jeff Charleston.
What?
I watched the 3-minute
You watched
trailer.
it? Did you?
Oh, yeah, right.
What? Is it bad? What? What's so bad about it?
It's just fraudulent.
It's what?
Generic 90-day refills.
We got to talk about it.
Jeff Charleston trying to be
every 10 prescriptions.
some socialite is the biggest fraud there
Stop by
is.
CVS.
We got to talk about
Such a
We're the
fraud.
place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions.
What was that all about?
Just in Arkansas, New
I'm not saying it. I'm not going to say it.
Well, I don't. Tell me.
Well, put your hand over the mic.
He's the least energetic person I've ever seen. How is he on TV?
Health
How?
is everything.
Because
he's a former NFL player.
Well, his wife makes
his wife is.
Yeah.
Fresh Louisiana
Yeah.
seafood is most delicious.
If I had the eyeballs emoji.
Yeah. Ooh, right? Right. Good job. Hey, Jeff. Yes. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a perfect usage.
One live oak between Bonneville and Lake Avenue.
He's
Kenner at 910 West Central.
All right, so when are we going to do...
Mr. Ed's catered your next event. Mr. Ed's
Dude, we can easily...
Reality.
I mean,
dive right into it.
Yeah, I was like, we can go college basketball and then go into the last half and just absolutely derail everything.
Do we have any Louisiana teams left? Nichols, Southeastern, Tech got beat yesterday. ULM's alive.
ULL plays.
Kevin Durant
they played 11.
Points as the Warriors
11:30.
from 8 down with
I
less than
can't
5
go to that
minutes to
funeral.
go to beat the Spurs 110-107.
They started the,
Golden
10
State
minutes.
has won 7 in a row. Steph Curry left with an ankle injury in the first,
I'm
and
going
Durant
Sunday
says
to
he
the
knew he had to
championship.
pick up the slack.
Yeah, ULM plays
predictable
tonight
with my
at
game,
7:30 against Arkansas State. ULM's a 6.
maybe I was able to get to my spots.
I'm sorry.
We'll do college basketball here.
Stuff I work on every single day.
ULM.
Curry now
Rod's
traveling
gonna
to the
make my
Warriors
weekend
on the
with this
2-game road
news.
trip they'll embark
Awesome.
on now.
I told you
Anthony
people.
Davis of the
Clay
Pelicans
Harbor,
day-to-day
huge
after
news.
injuring
Clay
his ankle
Harbor.
Wednesday night
It's
against
the
the
most
Kings.
What if he gets it? What if he like wins the woman?
Well, no. What if
Notre Dame
he's
88-70.
second and he's the next bachelor?
Next.
That would be
baseball,
good.
That's how it works?
Usually when you lose, you get a runner-up,
deal
you get to
after
become
not
the next
finding a free
bachelor.
agent taker.
Wow, I didn't know
And there's
that.
the Bachelor in Paradise.
Where they put all these losers.
I don't know any of this stuff. This is a foreign world to me.
Dedicated to protecting Louisiana's marine resources. The West Bank chapter of the CCA
Look at Alvin
will be holding
Kamara's
a
amazing
fundraising
life.
banquet
Clay
at NOLA
Harbor.
Motorsports
Amazing
Park
life.
on March 29th at 6 p.m. Tickets are only $75 a person, which includes an open bar, dinner, and a 1-year CCA membership. For table and ticket info, call Katie Laurent at 225-952-9200. Again, that's 225-952-9200. Or go to ccalouisiana.com.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Some Louisiana college basketball teams are still playing. Others are gone pecan. UNO goes down in the Southland tournament. Tulane goes down to Temple, so Tulane's season is over. Melvin Frazier's college basketball career could be over. I'm suspecting it will be. And LSU, I'll be honest with you, I watched a little bit of the first half. They were getting blown away, and then all of a sudden I looked down on the crawler, and they are back in the game, and heartbreaking loss, but I'm stunned that they even got back into that game against Mississippi State.
Yeah, State made a tactical, strategic error there at the very end when the kid, the Witherspoon kid, dunked the ball. It allowed LSU a chance to throw in a Hail Mary three-pointer and tie that game. He should have just dribbled the clock out. But LSU showed a lot of fight coming back. Tremont Waters was spectacular, as he always is. And LSU's got a lot of reasons for optimism. I'm assuming they're going to get an NIT bid. And there's just a lot of reasons to be optimistic. The way they play, the way they compete. And they've got some good young talent other than Waters. You know, they've got a team that I think is going to be dangerous going forward. I just thought Mississippi State was just a little more talented than them right now.
And you get LSU away from the PMAC, and they find ways to lose. It's even, like I said at the beginning of the show, Will Wade, bless his heart, I love his honesty. If they don't get an NIT home game, he's just assuming they're going to lose in the first round. He's about as real as it gets when talking about his team. I find it extremely refreshing.
Yeah, I love to hear him break it down like that. That's the way it should be in this world where everybody's worried about being outraged. You know me, the year of outrage. Lay it on the line like that. And look, I watched all the games. They were all on about the same time. UNO really never was in their game. They just never really could get it together. Look, they're missing Traven Thibodeau and I forget the other player, the sophomore outside shooter, Bryson Robinson, I think it is, Bryce Robinson, who's one of their best three-point shooters, if not their best three-point shooter. It was amazing that they were as competitive as they were without those two. And then Tulane actually started out very strong against Temple, and then Temple went on a run, and really Tulane made a few half-hearted runs, but never really threatened again after that. And you're right, Melvin Frazier probably will be making a big decision here soon. I can't imagine he's going to come back for his senior season given his draft prospects.
I can't imagine it either. If there's any possibility of him being drafted, which we think there's a high probability that he will be as early as, say, 20 or in the first round, to even if he's a second-round pick, I think he's got to go. And I think, fortunately for him, he has someone with the know-all to give him the best advice possible with Mike Dunleavy as the coach. That is a huge advantage for someone in a situation of just going to Tulane where, think about it, a year or two ago when Melvin Frazier went there, no disrespect to Ed Conroy, but I'm going to take Mike Dunleavy's advice over Ed Conroy's advice.
Yeah, no doubt, because he's been down that road. He still has a lot of connections in the NBA, so when he tells you this is where you should get drafted, he's probably going to be spot on. I'll be surprised if he is a first-round pick. When I watch Melvin Frazier play, you can see the potential and the upside, but he's going to make it in the league as a defensive player, especially early on, and I think his offensive game is going to continue to come around, but I find it hard to believe that you're going to get drafted on that ability. I mean, a second-round draft pick seems like a way to go, and look, it's happening more and more often. Second-round picks are usually making the team now. In the past, it was kind of, you're not getting guaranteed money at that point, but still, I think it's too good of an opportunity to pass up, especially for him. He's come so far. Why risk an injury?
Now, we do still have plenty enough Louisiana college basketball teams still in the men's tournaments.
Do we? Who we have?
Well, let's start off with the game that's going to tip off here in 5 minutes at the UNO Lakefront Arena. ULL, you want to call them Louisiana, you want to call them Southwestern Louisiana.
Call them Louisiana Lafayette because it's in the state's constitution.
I'm going that route. Don't claim that you're Louisiana school.
Is it really?
I'm sorry.
Yes,
it's in the state constitution.
It's in the state constitution.
As we don't have more important things.
Yes. This is why we have Clyde.
Yeah,
he reads the state constitution and finds all the
all the pertinent information that we need to know. Well, I'm reading bike laws. I'm reading the state constitution.
There was the failed attempt to try and become Louisiana.
Right.
And that just wasn't going to happen. I don't know what.
State constitution.
Well, the Sun Belt is trying to claim them as Louisiana.
And they're well within their rights to do that. Everywhere else, though, there's a constitution, there's laws on the books.
Hey,
His mama called him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Speaking of Clay, we'll get to that later. Number 1, Louisiana, UL Lafayette, Southwestern, whatever. The Raging Cajuns, they take on Texas State at the UNO Lakefront Arena. Again, UL is the number 1 seed in the tournament. And we had on Carl Benson yesterday from the Sun Belt Conference, the commissioner, and ULL stubbed its toe heading into the tournament, and Carl Benson laid it out. ULL's got to win this, regardless of them being 24-5 and being remarkable in their conference throughout the year. This is a one-bid league. ULL's got to win this tournament to get in, and it's all in front of them. You could certainly see why they'd be the favorite, and yet you've got 3 more games you've got to win, and you just never know. Never know.
I would love to see them get in the tournament because I think they can do some damage. I'm really looking forward to going out and seeing them play here at the Lakefront. I've watched them on TV. They've got a veteran team with a lot of experience and a lot of different types of players that can score. They're very good defensively. They're going to, if they do get in the tournament, I think they've got a great shot to advance because they're going to give a lot of people trouble, and they'll be very motivated. They'll be one of those teams that is going to be a tough out no matter who they play. I think they're the prohibitive favorite in the Sun Belt. I mean, who's going to knock them off? I mean, who's the second best team in the conference? I don't know. If
right now, Georgia State's the 2 seed. Georgia Southern's the 3 seed. What is this? UTA? Is that Texas?
Texas Arlington.
Arlington, yes. They're the 4th seed. Appalachian State's the 5 seed. 6 seed is UL Monroe. They take on Georgia Southern at 7:30 tonight at the Iona Lakefront Arena, and the 9 seed is Texas State. They're taking on ULL. Like I said, in about 2 minutes will be tip-off. Other Louisiana schools still involved. Let's head over to the SWAC. They've got some teams still involved in their conference tournament. Let's see. Grambling is going to be taking on Texas Southern. And Southern is the number 1 seed in the SWAC. They tip off against Prairie View. This is semifinal action. They will tip off at noon. So you could potentially have Bayou Classic SWAC tournament finals. So can't discount that. Got them going. And then also Clyde. I'm surprised you don't have the Nichols theme song ready to jam up.
I can pull it up and play it on the. I can play the fight song on the mic.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to do that. So you guys talk about it.
No, if that's
who's Nichols playing, by the way?
Nichols, the number 2 seed, co-champion of the Southland Conference for 2017-2018. They will be playing number 3 seed Stephen F. Austin. Stephen F. Austin beat Central Arkansas last night. While the number 1 seed, Southeastern Louisiana, they will play Sam Houston State. As we have already mentioned, Sam Houston State defeated UNO yesterday at the Merrill Center in Katy, Texas.
Both those games should be excellent. I think they'll be very competitive games, as the Southland has been all season long. Southeastern's playing without one of their starters, I believe, who was involved in a shooting.
Both Nichols and Southeastern have lost guys due to injury from the last 2 games of the year. Nichols lost a guy on the Wednesday game, the last week of the regular season, and then Southeastern lost a guy, I believe, also that same Wednesday. So they're both without 2 of their top players, and so it'll be interesting to see how they have to deal with that, because this is going to be their first games back since playing each other that last Saturday this past weekend.
Well, it's actually Jabbar Singleton. He's actually from New Orleans. He's the one that's been suspended from the team after there was a shooting on the Southeastern Louisiana University campus, and he's been suspended indefinitely until, I guess, that criminal investigation is solved. It was a very scary incident. Actually, it was reported a few weeks ago. At the time, no one knew it involved a Southeastern basketball player. So they're playing shorthanded, like Clyde said. But they're still formidable with my guy, Marlon Veal, my favorite player in college basketball. Just an incredible talent. If you haven't seen Marlon Veal, you get a chance to watch Southeastern this weekend. You're looking for something channel surfing. Check him out. He's like the Allen Iverson of college basketball. Love watching him play.
So he hates practice.
I don't know about that. Marlon Veal looks like a guy that is a gym rat that wants to play wherever. Practice, veteran. Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Are you really pulling up this music? That actually doesn't sound as bad as I thought. Hooray for good mics.
Colonels, fight.
On that note,
in this game today. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, we're done with that. Let's take a break right here on the show.
Yeah, let's take a break.
When we get back, oh boy, we'll have plenty to talk about, and I can't wait for the last segment. This is unbelievable. I told you it was the biggest news of your life. It's the biggest news on NOLA.com, the most read story. I told you. You mocked me, Clyde. You mocked me, Jeff. Dave, you never mocked me because you love me.
He mocks you silently.
That's okay.
No, I do not.
Exactly. See, Dave would never do that. But I told you it was huge news, and damn it, I was right. Come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Tell me what in the world you doing, L-O-N-E. Yeah, I say, hey, good L-O-O-K-I-N-G.
forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Louisiana Lottery.
From the Fox 8 meteorologist Bruce Katz today for your Friday through the afternoon. A beautiful day, mostly sunny at 71 tonight. Going to be clear and cool, low 50s on the north and south shore, and then tomorrow on Saturday, get out the umbrellas. Good chance of rain moves in by midday and afternoon. 60% with the front with a high of 77. The good news, the front moves east by Sunday morning, 8 to 9 o'clock. The rain moves out, and we do salvage most of Sunday with partly cloudy skies.
Go ahead. Make my week. Play the lottery's new scratch-off, Make My Week. You could win up to $20,000. Visit any lottery retailer and ask for Make My Week for your chance to win. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Howdy, folks. I'm Colonel Sanders here to tell you about KFC's $5 fill-ups. Now, some people are saying that I'm just Reba McEntire and that KFC has paid me to be the Colonel. But if that were true, how would I know my $5 fill-ups are full of a lot of delicious food? How would I know that you could get a real meal with 2 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken, mashed potatoes, and a drink for just $5?
I know what he did.
It's not like I could just read it off a script designed to make you hungry. Or could I? KFC. It's finger-licking good.
At participating KFCs only. Prices may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
Imagine. Imagine being denied an apartment because of housing discrimination.
It's so wrong.
But who has the power to stop this?
You do. The law is on your side. If you've been discriminated against because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status, file a complaint with HUD. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
Visit HUD.gov/fair housing. A public service message from HUD and the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Staying Alive is the near-perfect feat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. 911, hard and fast in the center of the chest, the beat of the song Staying Alive. Disco is back and it's saving lives. To learn more, go to heart.org.
That's amazing. How do they do that?
Only CPR.
Nationally supported by the Life Foundation.
Looks real.
Going deep on the teams you care about. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Okay. Before we absolutely derail the entire week and a really, really good show today.
I'm going to do that in the last segment.
Okay. I was going to give us a poll. I was going to do the poll. Okay. Give us the poll numbers. 348 votes so far. Poll, obviously. Should the Saints sign Muhammad Wilkerson? 65% say yes, but only to a 1-year deal. So overwhelming favor right now. 18% say yes by any means. 12% pass, but worth a look. And 5% absolutely not. So it seems that
people want him.
People want him, but specifically want him to a 1-year deal.
Well, I think that's the smartest way now. Will Muhammad Wilkerson want that? I don't know. And he's certainly gotten he certainly possesses a pretty healthy bank account considering of the $80+ million deal that was going to max out if he completed everything and got every dollar and cent. He got near 40 million of it. So it's not like he's hurting for money, but how much is going to be out there? And the teams he's looking at, say Green Bay and the Saints, I forget there's another team on his list I think he's going to go visit. It might be Seattle. I might be wrong. I feel like I read that somewhere.
AWG on the West Bank.
I could be totally off here, but you could you look at it and it looks like he's trying to at least go to a winner or a competitor. And we know the Seahawks need pass rush since they trade Michael Bennett. Looks like they're possibly could deal Earl Thomas. Sounds like Richard Sherman's going to be gone. And his former teammate Sheldon Richardson could be back in Seattle, so maybe that's another connection there. He's a free agent, though, as well. Richardson and Wilkerson are both free agents.
Does it bother you all that the fact that Wilkerson went to Green Bay and left without a deal? I mean, I don't know.
It says here he is scheduled after leaving the Packers with no deal, he'll come to the Saints next and then the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
So he's just making
Not
a
Seattle,
round.
so I just made up that whole scenario.
Texted your callers.
I apologize. So, all right, let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number. Let's go to AWG on the West Bank. What's up, AWG?
Duh, West Bank.
Duh, West
What
Bank.
do they call it over here?
the best thing.
Look, I live in Algiers, my friend. Come on, let's get with it. I can flash up the W with my fingers very quickly. Jeff cannot.
All right. Okay, so this guy, I don't know anything about him. Wilkinson, is he good?
Well, he's been a Pro Bowler, former first-round pick. He's had double-digit sacks twice in his career and garnered a 5-year, $80+ million contract. So talent is there if his head's screwed on right. But the last couple of years, he has certainly been he's had his fair share of issues. And that coincided with him getting paid. So that, to me, is also a red flag there.
Yeah. Nah, don't sign him.
All right. AWG on the West Bank.
Hold on. Oh, talking about Southeastern?
Yes.
I saw when they played UNO, that guy Veal he's the real deal. He can ball. But there's another guy on that team that can light it up, a fellow by the name of Fillmore. This guy was making 35-foot plus three-point shots, almost blindfolded. He's almost a pure shooter.
Clyde is shaking his head in total agreement with you.
Absolutely. I was at that game as well, and it was almost like he was playing NBA Live on God mode. I mean, lighting it up from, James Harden range, which you don't see a lot of college players taking, but he was draining them like there was no effort whatsoever. And he had 19 points. He had 19, I believe, of his 23 points all came in the first half of that game against UNO.
Yeah, those two guys team up. That's a tough team to defend with those two guys. If they win the conference tournament, they I'm not going to say that they would win the first game in the NCAA March Madness, but they're a tough competitor. They really are.
Yeah, I agree. They get after you.
Joshua Fillmore.
Yeah, he's from Orlando.
Yes.
And he does. He's a perfect complement to Veal because Veal gets all that penetration. He's so quick. And then Fillmore just parks it outside and he dishes out. They're tough.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. Thank y'all and enjoying the show.
You got it. Thanks, AWG on the West Bank. Let's head out to NOLA East. Our good buddy DJ. Hey, DJ, thanks for calling Duncan Holder. What you got?
Hey, Larry, I talked about Wilkinson about 10 days ago. And
you did, yes.
It looks as though, this guy is, a great, end, but, he got over $17 million when he signed the other contract. Do you think this guy's going to want a lot lower? Because, I'm thinking 10 or 11 million might be the top as to what these teams might be offering this guy. And do you think that, this guy being 28, 4 years got to be the max that you could sign him for? And I'm just thinking that there's no way that this guy's going to sign a one-year deal, to prove himself because he's been in the league a few years. But I just think, if they play their cards right, that they could sign this guy and have him, get a contract that is a lot lower than, a normal end would get. And I just think it'll be a good deal for them to sign this guy because they have enough, players in the locker room that'll keep this guy straight. So anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there and I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, you got it. You would think, but you never know. And I don't know if he has any sort of prior relationships to, say, Cam Jordan or anyone on the defense. I don't know that. But is he worth taking a risk? Yes, but how much of a risk are you willing to go into as far as contract years, guaranteed money, all of that? I think it's certainly something that I'm glad I'm not making that decision, honestly, because it's very tempting. If he's right, you've got Cam Jordan and Wilkerson, and you could also move Wilkerson in to the inside if you wanted to on pass rushing situations, or you leave him on the end. I think he's versatile, but there's enough out there that gives you so much pause with this guy.
He's played basically in a 3-4 scheme with the Jets, so he's a little like a combo. He's a lot like a Akeem Hicks kind of a combination end tackle, and you're right, he could slide inside where I think he'd be very effective in passing situations, and the Saints could sub in their fleet of young outside pass rushers from Trey Hendrickson, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Hal Kikaha, all those guys kind of factor in. But I think it makes sense to me why the Saints are looking at him, because we've talked about it on the show. It's not a great free agent market for pass rushers. And the draft, there's a few elite guys, but they're going to be long gone by the time the Saints get around to drafting. So I really think the trade route or something like this makes a lot of sense for the Saints.
There's a reason why you have 3 teams already lining up trying to get visits with Muhammad Wilkerson. And they're teams who you figure Green Bay will be back in the playoff hunt. Of course, the Saints are a playoff caliber team. The Chiefs have made the playoffs. There's a reason why these teams are going after them, because they feel like that they could come in and help them right away. And also the agent. You could obviously tell Wilkerson's representatives are trying to get him to a winner. He's certainly cashed out. How much cash is going to satisfy him? Not sure. And yet the team certainly has to be leery. I can't express that enough. Just reading the coverage of him over the last couple of years and just doing some homework on the guy once the interest came out, you are taking a risk no matter which way you spin it, no matter what. Even if it's a 1-year deal and you give him guarantee it, it's a risk.
I will say this, though. I mean, Sean Payton is very astute at reading the tea leaves on these kind of things. He knows players. He knows what motivates them. He's an excellent communicator. I think bringing him in, getting a chance to sit across from him, have dinner with him, and talk to him about what motivates him, what's caused some of the issues in New York, makes a lot of sense, because he does fill a very important, critical need for the Saints. If they want to take the next step, they can't sit still this offseason. We've seen around the league, the NFC is going to be unbelievably competitive, and they're going to have to take a step forward, and it's going to start on that defense, especially with the pass rush. To me, it's their biggest bugaboo right now, and I know that they had more sacks than they've had in years, but there was too many times where the other opposing quarterback was way too comfortable, and they really did have some good fortune this year in that they didn't play a ton of elite quarterbacks, and that's going to end again next year.
And I can tell you one of the reasons why they were able to generate some pass rush outside of Cam Jordan at times, and even help Cam Jordan at times, is the secondary improved. If the secondary isn't as good as it was last year, the pass rush wouldn't have been as good, and the Saints would have been in trouble. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like the Saints, if they don't go get, say, a Muhammad Wilkerson and assume he's going to play or anything like that, beef up the secondary and make it even better to help if you can't sufficiently fill that spot on the edge and get someone who you feel like can be a viable candidate opposite Cam Jordan. Because imagine if you've got Marshawn Lattimore and, let's say, for argument's sake, Tremaine Johnson. Imagine that tandem at corner. You're going to be in really, really good shape, but you're going to be spending a boatload to get Tremaine Johnson or Malcolm Butler or even someone like Aaron Colvin, who I'm almost starting to warm up more to him than my man Malcolm Butler and maybe Tremaine Johnson.
Because he's going to be a little cheaper probably.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that comes into play here, you have to look around the landscape of free agency. It's not the Saints aren't operating in a vacuum here. There's a market, and the market is going to determine whether the Saints are players or not. And there's so many other teams. Yes, the Saints have money. They have around $30 million is what we think right now, and it's going to change when they sign Brees. But that's not nearly as much as most of the other teams in the league. I think the Saints were still not even at the league average in available cap space, and that doesn't include what they're going to have to book Brees for. And you look around the league, some teams have $100 million. So they're going to spend it. And they may spend it foolishly just to get a player on board. Sometimes you have to overspend. The Pelicans had to do that. They had to overspend on overpay Solomon Hill to bring him in, Etwan Moore. Those deals were ludicrous, but they had to do it to get them. And other teams are going to do that same thing when they're trying to compete with the Saints, who are right now a very attractive option for a lot of free agents.
No doubt. All right, let's take a break right here on the show. One more segment on Friday, and Clyde, it's time to derail the show. But
wonderful. We're
going to give the people what they want because, as I alluded to 2 days ago, greatest story of your lifetime.
Not even close.
And now the people have spoken. It's the most read story on NOLA.com. The people have spoken. Clay Harbor, the Gretna subdivision, a.k.a. short-lived Saints tight end, officially on The Bachelorette. I told you, and boom, our own Mike Scott got it done. That is what I'm talking about here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc it older.
So thick and so sweet. Ain't no curves like her on them downtown street.
I'd much rather talk about Clay Harbor than
Clay Harbor.
What is it? The Vanilla Gorilla?
Lots starting in the 270s.
The Vanilla Gorilla.
No, we're going to talk about that too.
Gorilla.
We're going to talk about him
The neutral ground, 4 till 6.
Let's head to Metairie.
All right, so investment advice. I got a buddy trying to talk me into. He's totally into the cryptocurrency.
A cellular device
He's
called
advising me to buy one Bitcoin.
home of not one good restaurant.
Sports 12.
That's like
So
11
you're
grand.
diversifying your portfolio with one Bitcoin?
They can
So,
do it big with the Pierre's Party Pack. Presented
Wait, Dave, weigh in.
Dave knows.
Hey, Dave, why not?
Yeah, no, it's a train wreck, man.
a
Like
prison?
actually,
I mean, a
the
Ponzi
funny
scheme?
part, not really a Ponzi scheme, but actually, like I did the Gregory Rick show last night, and he actually was talking about it, where it's like, there's nothing like it in the world where, like, you know, you put your money in there, you literally you can't get it back right away. So like most stocks and things like that, or IRAs, when you sell them out, the money is there and waiting. You can buy stuff, or if you actually want the cash back, you know, you can usually get it within 3 days. Right. But with cryptocurrency, it's 3 days, and you might get your actual cash in hand. But like when you cash it out, it's not even available to play with until 3 days.
What he's saying is, he said something to me like, Bill Gates said each Bitcoin will be worth like $500,000 in 3 or 4 years.
No, I mean the bubble popped recently where it just tumbled all down, you know. But I mean,
is it when that guy decided to sell Bitcoins and they were actually Chuck E. Cheese tokens? I read that story.
Cheese tokens.
Look it up. Google it.
Somebody fell for that?
I'm serious. Like that, but actually, the government's probably going to start getting in on it and regulating what they can do, because basically, you got a lot of shysters out there.
Of course.
So I mean,
it's like ether. You're trading ether.
Advise using caution.
Well, trust me. That's why I haven't.
If you buy a Bitcoin, sure. Buying your portfolio.
That's what actually I was thinking about doing.
Bonds, bruh.
Streaming service adding the MLB net.
What was that?
I was about to say diversify your bonds, bruh.
Yeah.
To be the
This guy's been crypto. He's a trader. He cryptocurrency trades.
News Radio.
Okay.
And he's making, thousands here and there. I mean, he's not getting rich, but he's making money. But again, can he extract it out now? Can he get the money in hand? That's the key.
Yeah.
BoomtownNewOrleans.com for info.
Dunc and older now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Great week of shows. Great show today. Going to get better here in about 30 seconds. But first, if you missed any of it, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page, and Clyde. Getting wittier and wittier with those headlines every day. Love them at NOLA.com. Our show recaps. And Clyde, I told you. Clay Harbor, gigantic news.
I really thought I was going to flip this table. I really thought I was going to flip this table 2 days ago.
I know what the people want. And the most read story on NOLA.com right now is about Clay Harbor being one of the suitors for Becca Kufrin, fresh off heartbreak from the head-spinning end to the most recent season of The Bachelor, according to Mike Scott.
This is potential, right? We don't know for sure. Correct?
Do you know reality show expert Steve Carboni, known as Mike Scott refers to as the all-knowing reality Steve? That Clay Harbor.
No reality Steve. What does reality Steve say?
Get with the program that Clay Harbor will be the contestant on The Bachelorette. There's no official confirmation from ABC, though.
Of course not, because they're going to wait and drag this out like they always do for these types of shows, and they're going to announce it When do they start pre-production on these shows usually? Like, not soon after
you're
it's
asking the
over,
wrong
but
two
I'm
people.
not talking to you. I'm really talking just to Larry.
Larry knows.
Yeah.
Larry
I'm
knows
not really
the
talking to you,
Bachelorette
Jeff.
production schedule.
No, but I mean, obviously they have to turn these things around. I mean, it's not like it takes that long to do the show. So, I mean, they're going to release it on Good Morning America. She's going to have her tell all whatever happens, and then they're going to announce the Bachelor field for the Bachelorette, and he's going to be on it, and people will watch.
The best thing that could happen for Clay Harbor is if he finishes second on this show.
That's actually a very existential question. It's almost as if, like, do you want to be the person that wins said reality show, or do you want to be the person that finished second? Because there's a lot of pressure on the person who wins.
Because you want your own show. Becca got scorned, so Clay Harbor would become the next Bachelor, and it would be they could go have a date like in the indoor practice facility on Airline Drive.
Yeah, get the Saints involved.
Absolutely. Get it all done. Because I guarantee you will see Saints coverage on another reality show, Southern Charm, New Orleans. Jeff Charleston, the most anonymous Saints player possibly in Saints history.
No, I think Clay Harbor is the most anonymous.
Well, he was on IR, so that's not his fault.
Jeff Charleston started.
Yeah, Jeff Charleston. Like, I remember
Jeff
Charleston.
He started some games.
The only reason you and me even remember Jeff Charleston is because he called Matt Stafford fresh meat week 1 leading up to the 2009 season. It got blown up as a giant headline on the front page of the Times-Picayune. Sean Payton got furious, called and screamed at Brian Alley Walsh. I'm sure screamed at Jeff Charleston, and he's made 4 career starts in the NFL, as Jeff's giving me the 4. It's not fourth quarter, as all the kids do. He's telling me 4 starts. The most anonymous
8 career
Saints
sacks
player ever.
He played. No, he's not.
So
he played five seasons in the NFL.
Anonymous.
So you screwed in the light bulb 8 times?
Yes, he had the greatest sack celebration in the history of the Saints. In the history, the light bulb, screwing in the light bulb.
In the history of the Saints.
It's awesome. And, his background was he was a carpenter. The Saints signed him off the street. He was doing carpentry out in Oregon. Jeff Charleston, we got to get him on the show. Now he's a rally
I've
show.
called him the most anonymous Saints player.
He's not going to know that.
You got to face the music on that.
He's not going to know that.
And we definitely got to get Clay Harbor on the show. That is top priority.
We need to call.
He might be too big for us now.
I didn't even know about the Southern Charm show. I had no idea until it came across our Slack channel. Slack, if for most people who don't know it, is literally AIM for journalists, because that's what every newsroom uses. But
what's that got to do with anything?
Well, I mean, because it came across Slack, and I'm like, why is this a big deal? What is Southern Charm? And
It's
it
a
was
TV
this
show.
trailer. Obviously I don't watch that.
I watched the one in Charleston. I'm addicted to it.
See, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what channel it is.
I've got no problem admitting this. I love Vanderpump Rules. I love Southern Charm, the one in Charleston.
I talk about Laguna Beach.
You're a married father of 2. I understand it completely. This is what happens.
We throw the kids out the room when it's time for our shows.
Sorry, I love my wife, but I've stopped watching all these scandal shows.
I also watched Top Chef. Love Top Chef.
That's not terrible.
That's another Bravo show, but Top Chef is wonderful.
It's very good.
I went to a Top Chef episode here in New Orleans.
When it was here?
I actually had a little fleeting cameo appearance.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
In the background. What do you mean unfortunate?
Well, it's unfortunate for them because they got you on camera. But
stop being mean, Clyde.
Suddenly, Mean Clyde comes out of here.
Check the mark on the.
No, but also on the Southern Charm show is Barry Smith, who is I wouldn't call Barry a friend of mine, but a colleague, former colleague. He's a personal trainer in town, who is married to, I believe, Tamika.
Yes, Lee. Yes.
Lee. Yes.
News with a Twist fame.
Yes, who is Sonny Lee's sister, and Sonny, of course, runs Son of a Saint, and their father was Vivian Lee, former Saints player. So there's all kinds of Saints connections here.
I'm just, although the only thing that is concerning about that is that, me and my wife were talking about this yesterday, is that New Orleans, for as big as it is, metro, as in a metro city with a lot of other areas, suburban, kind of like surrounding it, it's still very small.
2 minutes, guys.
It's one of those things where you're going to do a reality show with people that you either see or you kind of know or you really know, and then all this stuff is put on for reality, and none of it's real. Spoiler alert, breaking news, reality TV isn't real. Don't know if you know that. Now you do.
God.
It wouldn't be called reality. It's got the word real in it.
Thank you, Dave. That's what I needed.
Clyde is crushing dreams here. Everybody thinks it's real, Clyde.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just like wrestling is real.
Yeah, next
Again,
you're gonna tell
breaking
us,
news, wrestling's not real.
There's no Easter
really
bunny.
Hurts. Really, you're really
Yeah, you really get beat up, but it's still scripted.
So?
Still scripted.
Reality. It's got the word real in it.
Which means it's anything but.
There's some
Survivor,
sort of real element.
Big Brother. The only thing that's real about it is that these people are really, really dumb for going out to the wilderness for 30 days.
Just don't tell me that Swamp People isn't real. Just don't tell me.
Swamp People is very real, but there are some stage moments.
And should be a Winter Olympic sport. I'm still on that train.
By the way, I actually went to high school, graduated high school with one of the Swamp People.
Oh, and he's claiming he's from a city.
I am from the city. He's from the Bayou area. He came to my high school because my high school was great. All right.
What a great way to end a great week of shows. If you missed it, it's the most read story on NOLA.com. Clay Harbor, Bachelorette. Dominate. I'm the smartest man alive. Told you I'd give you the people what they want, and they've got it and coming in droves.
The Gretna subdivision.
There you go. Want to thank Todd Masson. Great week of shows. Sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page. Check out NOLA.com. You better do a Clay Harbor one. It's hot.
I'm not doing a Clay Harbor one. I don't think anyone's going to get around on the sports page. Sorry, guys.
Eric Asher coming up next. We'll have the NCAA tournament bracket on Monday. Be a fun week next week. So come on back.
10 seconds.
Next week. Good times for all. Sports1280NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Maybe Drew Brees will be signed by then. And we'll talk about it next week. Duncan Holder.
Thousands of